The day after Lillian's engagement, her assistant handed me a ticket. Leave and don't come back to City G again. Otherwise, Lillian has ways to ruin you. Over the years, he and I were admired by everyone, living the high life. But when I left, it was so embarrassing it was a joke. I said, fine. But that night, the plane from 10,000 meters in the air crashed. I never thought I'd die. In my plans, I would take the 30 million from Lillian and move overseas, far away from all the drama. I'd have a lifetime of good days ahead. But in that moment when the plane fell, everything was gone. I was so angry. The ticket Lillian had given me wasn't for a better life. It was for death. I suddenly remembered our last meeting. We hadn't contacted each other for over 2 months. She was busy with Gary's divorce case, sorting things out with his ex-wife's son. After a long time, she finally remembered she had a boyfriend, so she took an hour to come to my place. Though it wasn't really my place. In the most luxurious part of City G, land is worth gold. Without Lillian, I'd never even set foot in such a place. Not long ago, we were lying together, with her holding my waist. I playfully scratched her back. But then, not seeing each other for a bit made us feel so distant. We sat at opposite ends of the table, far apart. She said, "What do you want?" Straight to the point. I didn't hold back. 3 years of my youth, I wanted 30 million from her. Of course, I admitted I loved her. But all that love vanished the moment I realized I was just a stand-in. She nodded, agreed, her face cold. "But you can't stay in City G anymore. He doesn't like you being here." What could I do? Of course, I had to agree. Even if I disagreed, Lillian had ways to get rid of me, and it'd be more embarrassing then. She mentioned a place. "I have property there. Take your pick, whichever you like. It's yours." So generous. I laughed. "Okay." She nodded slightly and asked, "Would you like to never meet again? Will you manage that?" My presence really bothered her and her fiancé. Of course, I replied. "I'm an orphan. It wasn't easy getting through college 3 years ago. I heard there were plenty of opportunities to make money in City G, so I worked as a model for a bit, which I liked. But not long after, I met Lillian. She went all out to pursue me for half a month, and we got together. She didn't like me being in the spotlight, so I shrank my circle until it was just her. So small that over the years, everyone I knew was her friend, not mine. I had no attachments here. Couldn't wait to leave and never come back, or see her again. But things didn't go as planned. I died, and yet I met Lillian again, though she couldn't see me because I was just a spirit now. I always loved to look sharp. Before boarding, I got styled and fixed my hair. I hadn't groomed myself for years since Lillian didn't like it. I was naive then. I did everything to please her. But later, I learned that what she didn't like was the fact that with a crew cut and sharp demeanor, I looked most like Gary. Everyone knows Gary, the movie star, with his striking features and incredible presence, was all the rage. And now, perhaps heaven had mercy. I still looked like I did before I died. No injuries. Standing in Lillian's office, I looked at myself in the mirror for a while and sighed in relief. I glanced around. This and that, all done here. It's unbearable to recall. Finally, I looked at Lillian. She's 27, young with power and money. Her biggest setback was watching the man she loved marry someone else. But now, things were falling into place. Even her assistant had a natural smile when entering. "Everything's ready in the nursery, Lillian," she said. "The clothes and accessories Gary liked yesterday are back." Lillian nodded softly. She put down her contract, rubbed her forehead, and picked up her phone. She looked at it for a long time. I got curious, wanting to see what she was looking at, but she turned it off before I could. Then she spoke, "How is he now?" Calvin paused, quickly answering, "Gary's filming not far from here. Want to visit later?" I've seen Gary's drama. Playing a fallen king. Handsome and wise, full of love and hate. In the show, he uses wit to win over others, carefully planning. He eventually restores his kingdom. If I were just a regular viewer, I'd love him too. Sadly, I wasn't. Our first meeting was awkward. He asked, "You know you look a lot like me?" I nodded, "Yeah, lots of people say I do, they're complimenting me." He smiled mysteriously, "You've been with her almost 3 years, right?" I said, "Yes." He raised an eyebrow, "Here's the thing. 3 years ago, she was into me. How laughable. With her for 3 years, no one told me. I naively played the stand in all this time. I only learned later that the shows he starred in were carefully chosen by Lillian. She couldn't bear to see him fail. So, under her wing, Gary's career soared. As for me, I accomplished nothing. Over the years, I looked impressive but was only known as the guy by Lillian's side. After Calvin spoke, Lillian stayed silent for a long time. She tapped the pen in her hand on the table. A good while passed before she spoke. He should have arrived by now, right? That comment seemed a bit out of nowhere. But Calvin, who's used to big situations, quickly figured it out. He checked the watch on his wrist. Yeah, he should be there. I realized it too. Lillian was asking about me. Good thing she's got some conscience. But unfortunately, I didn't make it across the ocean. I died last night. Lillian didn't react much to that. She just looked at her phone again. This time, I was standing right next to her, so I saw it clearly. The screen was on a chat between her and me. I noticed she sent me a WeChat message half an hour ago. If you ever have any trouble, you can reach out to Calvin. Back in the day, I would have never kept her waiting for more than half an hour. Lillian heard Calvin's reply and chuckled coldly. She leaned back in her chair. Great. Has he contacted you? Calvin shook his head. No, after I dropped off his plane ticket, we haven't met again. Lillian went silent, her face showing no expression. But suddenly, the air seemed to freeze. Calvin hesitated a moment and offered, Lillian, want me to call Billy? Lillian looked up with a calm gaze. It was hard to tell what she was thinking. After a while, she spoke, no need. Don't tell me about him anymore. After she said this, she glanced at our chat again. It was quiet on the other end. Still no reply. Her hand hovered over the screen for a moment before she deleted all my contact info. Watching this, I finally caught on. She wasn't concerned about me at all. Those words were just her way of saying goodbye before cutting ties. I was so mad. Why did I have to die? My plan was to cut her off after moving into the fancy villa she gave me once I landed. But here she was, beating me to it. Felt pointless. Thinking about this, I kicked Lillian's leg. Back when things were good, she'd treat me well, no airs about her. I had this way of getting a bit cheeky, showing my temper. If she upset me, I'd kick her a little. I was used to it. It came naturally. But it was different now. Back then, a hard kick would hurt. Now, there was no sensation at all. I couldn't even touch her. Ticked me off more. After her assistant left, Lillian worked for quite a while. During this time, I tried leaving the office, but as soon as I touched the doorknob, I was back beside her. After 2 attempts, I got it. I couldn't stray far from her. Maybe it's because she indirectly caused my death. Too bad I didn't become a vengeful spirit, or I'd haunt her. Right then, a voice popped into my head. Finally found you. I was startled. Who are you? I'm from the underworld. There was a glitch in our department. All of you who died in the crash are stuck near the person you were closest to for now. Quickly replied, take me away then. And hey, I had a lot of money saved up in this life. Can I use that in my next? God knows how much I wanted to be really rich. The underworld guy seemed a bit unsure. I'm not really sure, but you died awfully bad this time. Maybe you'll have a decent death next life. Alright then, get me out of here. I need to reincarnate. Not yet. You have to wait until your funeral is over. Why? Because your spirit has formed a bond with this world. After the funeral, that bond will break. But from what I hear, everyone else has started theirs. You're just pitiful. Doesn't seem like anyone cares about your death. Those words hit hard. After saying that, the voice faded from my mind. I sighed, running through all the people I knew, confirming it in the end. I was going to be a wandering ghost forever. Much time passed before Lillian finally got ready to leave. Gary had called a couple of minutes ago, asking her to pick him up. I followed her downstairs, getting into the car. I wasn't watching Lillian. I gazed out the window. Skyscrapers, bustling cars. A city so lively it felt like a dream. I couldn't deny the regret. At my prime, a failed relationship led me here. I wasn't ready for this finish. The $3 million breakup fee, I hadn't even spent a dime. It was ridiculous, really unfair. I felt like crying. When we got there, Lillian got out. In a moment, Gary came out and hugged her. She stiffened a bit, then smiled softly. "How's it been? Tired?" Gary nodded and started telling her about recent events. He had a nice voice. Even the dullest topics sounded lively from him. Their fingers were interlocked, both wearing the same engagement rings. After all his years with countless famous pairings, looking at him and Lillian, I had to admit they fit well together. Right then, someone came out talking. "Did you see the trending news? Last night, a plane crashed. Not a single survivor among hundreds. I saw it. I was supposed to fly abroad, even booked the same flight. Luckily, I got a gig last minute and stayed back. I'm so fortunate." My spirits lifted instantly. Lillian's actually pretty generous. If she knew I was dead, she might arrange a funeral. Sure enough, her movements froze hearing that. She turned slowly, letting go of Gary's hand, and walked over. She looked at those two with a composed expression. She spoke. "Last night?" The two nodded. "Yeah." Hearing this, Lillian was about to ask more. But Gary suddenly got out, joining her side, playfully chiding, "Aren't you the one never interested in this stuff? I'm starving. Let's eat." Just now, Gary was far away and wearing sunglasses. Those two couldn't recognize him. Then he spoke. They were stunned for a moment and then immediately looked surprised. "Gary, this must be your fiancée, right?" Gary was secretly married to his ex-wife. His relationship with Lillian was very public. Their engagement news went online, and everyone said they were a perfect match. Unfortunately, this dragged me into it as well. The internet didn't care about right or wrong. Gary met Lillian first, with plenty of classmates to back it up. So I became the talked-about homewrecker, the bad guy who got involved in someone else's relationship just because I looked similar. During that time, I didn't even dare look at my phone. Gary smiled slightly and admitted confidently, "Yes. Wow, she's beautiful. You two are such a great match. When are you getting married?" "Gary, we're just next door filming. We've liked you for so long but never had the chance to meet. Could we get an autograph?" Gary agreed enthusiastically. Lillian was interrupted and didn't feel like asking further questions. My hope was extinguished in that instant, but I wasn't surprised. I knew long ago that in Lillian's heart, everything had to come after Gary. If he laughed, cried, announced a divorce, or even went hungry, she would give it all her attention. Sure enough, while Gary was signing autographs, I saw her make a call to her assistant to cancel the original restaurant reservation and book one closer instead. I had dinner with them and then went home. Throughout, Lillian was very patient. If I still liked her, I might have been really upset, wishing I could cry my heart out. But I don't like her anymore. I just feel numb. Sometimes I even wonder, I've been good all my life and never done anything bad. So why does it seem like no one cares that I've died? Entering the house, I saw it had changed drastically. Nothing like when I was with Lillian. William came downstairs holding a little boy's hand, who looked about 3 or 4. He was wearing a tiny suit with naturally curly hair and big eyes, super cute. He even had a diamond bow tie. Gary waved, "Andy, come here." Andy ran over, jumping into Gary's arms, then grabbed Lillian's hand. "Lillian." Lillian squatted down, gently touching his hair, asking patiently, "Were you good today?" What a picture-perfect family. Who would have thought? A powerful CEO willing to bend for love and raise someone else's child. Andy nodded vigorously. "Yes, I was good." At that moment, the doorbell rang, a sharp sound disrupting everything. William went to open the door and came back with a package. He glanced at Gary, then spoke up after a moment. "This seems to be from Billy." A wave of forgotten memories rushed back. That's right. Before leaving, I sent Lillian a box. There were 2 things inside. The appearance of this box made the whole house quiet. Until Andy started crying in Lillian's arms, pointing at the box in William's hand. "Throw it away. This bad uncle stuff." He made a fuss, and Gary looked uneasy straight away. He lowered his head and coaxed his son softly. Okay, as you wish, Daddy will throw it away now." He gave William a look. William hesitated, looked at Lillian. The woman looked down, stared at the box in William's hand for a while. Finally, she said, "Throw it away." William sighed, turned, and left the room. After a while, he returned, hands empty. Gary looked over casually and said, "That substitute of yours is pretty persistent." I gritted my teeth and cursed. I really am pretty persistent. I'm the bad uncle, the stand-in. If they've got what it takes, they should go hire someone to exorcise me, make me disappear for good. Lillian's face remained unchanged at these words. She didn't argue back. She just said, "Is that so?" Gary chuckled, then had William take Andy back to the room and snuggled into Lillian's arms, with a touch of sadness. "Andy is so cute, right? If he were really your son, that'd be great." I've seen Gary's ex-wife, a well-known businesswoman, mature and elegant. Gary's family isn't wealthy, and he's been strong-willed since childhood, like a romance novel protagonist. In his sophomore year, when he was at his prime, he encountered both Lillian and his ex-wife. Lillian was just a student back then and kept a low profile on campus. Gary liked her, but not as much as he cared about his future. His ex-wife, to woo him, invested in a show for him. By the time Lillian found out, they were already married. At the same time, Gary learned of Lillian's background. He naturally regretted it, but his pride stopped him. He didn't contact Lillian after that. Until months ago, when he found out his wife was cheating. That's when he sought out Lillian again. This was the end of my beautiful romance. Gary tilted his head. When my ex-wife had Andy, her health got affected, and now she probably won't. I don't mind, Lillian interrupted, in a determined tone. Gary sighed in relief, glanced towards the door, using a playful voice. "You say that, but if you had a child with that substitute, would you still send him away so easily?" Lillian frowned slightly. "I never speculate like that." "Oh, come on. Just tell me what you think." "What else could I think? I'd definitely have you take care of the problem." Even though we were together, she did bring up marriage a few times. We even made matching rings and talked about having kids someday. But all of that was just what if. In reality, when Gary turned his head away, she pulled away from me without even saying goodbye. Later on, she just watched everything that happened to me with cold eyes. Then she paid me off. At that moment, Lillian was quiet for a second, then just pushed Gary away. Her voice was cold, almost tired. "Don't bring him up again," Gary said, "but you two were together for so long. Haven't you thought about him these past couple of days?" Lillian pressed her lips together, looking down at Gary coldly. "He's gone. Isn't that enough?" Originally, Lillian planned to send me away before they got engaged. But Gary wasn't happy with that. "On the day of our engagement, let's invite him too. Even if the kid's young, he should witness this day, right?" Because of that, my departure got delayed by 2 weeks. At their engagement party, I sat in the audience, watched the whole thing. Funnily enough, Andy was right next to me. He smiled and sweetly asked me to pass him a meatball. As I lifted my hand, he fell off the chair and cut his arm on broken glass. He cried, "Why did you push me?" Everyone looked at me like I was dirt. They thought, what a vile man, trying to climb up the ladder and ended up hurting a child. I hadn't even reacted when Lillian slapped me. After the slap, I looked up to see Gary staring at me smugly. He said, "Should have known better than to invite you." Now, as a ghost, hearing this conversation, I suddenly realized whether or not I'm innocent, it just didn't matter to Lillian. Everything she did was just to make Gary happy. Gary pressed his lips, then suddenly started unbuttoning Lillian's shirt, leaning in to kiss her. Lillian didn't refuse, but she also didn't hug him back. Then her phone rang. Gary, looking annoyed, grabbed the phone and put it on speaker. From my corner, I heard someone ask, "Hello, do you know Mr. Billy?" Lillian's eyes flickered as she was about to respond, but Gary quickly said, "I don't." He then blocked the number and turned off the phone. "I don't care. I finally get some time off today. Whatever it is, you need to stay with me." They went upstairs. Luckily, it's not far. I could still move around downstairs freely. So, I stayed around Lillian for quite a few days. The first day, they went to a movie. It was an old one. Gary picked it. Lillian was totally uninterested, busy texting Calvin. After he finished reporting work, the screen showed a long typing from him. But the message never came. Lillian furrowed her brows and typed, "You want to take a leave?" Calvin soon replied, "Not at all, Lillian. Did you see the trending news? Gary's about to release a new movie." "Really? Remind me when it's out." I let out a little laugh. Calvin sure knows how to talk. The theater was packed. I squeezed in by someone, watched a couple of short videos and some mini-series. I also saw the trending topics. One day later, the flight crash was still all over the news. Right in the front. If Lillian clicked it, she'd see it all. Calvin probably wanted to talk about this. But Lillian had already told him not to bring up anything about me. That's why he worded his question so carefully. After she replied, Lillian looked up, lost for quite a while. Only then did she realize that this movie was my favorite. I had begged her to watch it a few times. As she watched, we used to get all hot and bothered on the couch, youthful energy and all that. After a while, Lillian suddenly got up, while Gary hid behind his shades and hat, whispering, "What's wrong? I need to step out." She left the theater and the mall, ending up outside. She smoked an entire pack without even noticing. The next day, Gary was off to film, and Andy caught a fever. Lillian took him to the hospital herself. After finally calming Andy down, she stood by a window in the corner, staring out, lost in thought. A nurse passed by, not noticing her, chatting. "Remember that kid with the fever from a few days ago? Yeah, it was serious. Our head nurse even took charge. But it was just a cut, right? Who knows? Kids blow things out of proportion. But I recall a young man with them. The rumor was he deliberately hurt the kid. I know, he looked pretty stylish, muttering curses and mentioning a Rolls Royce. I even handed him a tissue when he cried. He was polite, said thanks. Not what you'd expect from a bad person. Yeah, that person was me. I had agreed to delay leaving to attend the engagement party, in exchange for 2 Rolls Royces. I was dead broke, and those 2 months of being shunned by Lillian were rough. After that slap, I wanted to explode but bit it back, keeping the luxury car deal in mind. Besides, I really had no power over them. Standing aside, Lillian heard this and actually chuckled. But a moment later, her smile disappeared, because another nurse continued. "Now I remember, before that, I saw him at the fertility center sorting paperwork." Lillian's expression? Indescribable. Her lips parted slightly, her back hunching a bit, and her fingers clenched loosely, as if unsure what to think. Then, Andy's voice came from inside. "Lillian." She went in. Standing by the bed, she looked at the feverish little boy, suddenly asking, "That day, did that handsome guy really push you?" Andy was just a child, feeling really sick. After stammering for what felt like forever, they finally gave up and, with a pout, said, "I fell myself." That night, Lillian stood just outside the hospital room, staring at the fertility clinic across the hall for the entire night. As I watched her from behind, memories came back to me. We had once gone to the hospital together, leaving behind the seeds of life, planning on doing IVF later on. If Lillian ever found out I was planning to sneak away with all the paperwork done, she'd never agree. Honestly, it wasn't because I loved her. It was because her genes were good. I figured it out clearly. With the money she gave me, I could raise a kid and life would be a dream. At the crack of dawn, she called the director of the clinic. Once she hung up, she knew I had left with our embryo. She put away her phone and, leaning her forehead against the wall, she chuckled for a second. "Billy, you've got some nerve." 2 minutes later, I watched her expertly key in a string of numbers. They were mine. Yet, strangely, she hesitated about making the call. Minutes passed. Eventually, she opened WeChat, found my contact, and sent a friend request. I'm not sure what she was thinking. She wanted the embryo back? Sigh. There's no need to push me. I'm dead. Oh wait. Along with our future child, gone without a trace. That afternoon, Andy got discharged. But Lillian wasn't home, nor was she at the office. She drove to my old place instead. It was the house she gave me, and after we split, she didn't bring it up again. I sold it without a second thought, and for a good price too. I was thrilled for days. But now, I watched her punch in the code and walk through that very door. Turns out it was still furnished the same just as I left it. The new owner was her all along. She liked this place so much, gave it to me and then bought it back. I can't wrap my head around the ways of the rich. Lillian wandered around, then sat down. A call came in, it was Calvin. Lillian, I've just confirmed the photo shoot schedule for the day after tomorrow. If that's good with you, I'll let Gary know. Lillian fell silent for a long time, not saying a word. I was tired too and sat on the other side of the couch. Then suddenly her gaze shifted, landing where I sat. I was startled, almost believing she saw me, but she just slowly looked away, then said, "Cancel it." "Huh? But I've checked, you and Gary are both available. Maybe next week?" In the past few days, I've learned their wedding was in 2 months. No, I mean, she sighed, cancel the photo shoot altogether. I couldn't figure out Lillian. After a pause, she spoke again. "Book me a flight. I'm leaving tonight." As she said this, it was like something clicked for her. She leaned back, a tenderness in her eyes. "I need to find him. He left too soon. We have so much left unsaid." "Do you think he'll blame me for how harsh I was? Was she talking about me?" I stared, dumbfounded. Lillian sighed and gripped her phone tightly. She rarely opened up like this. This was a first. She used to think Gary was her true love. It took her these days to realize it might be nothing but an obsession. She can't lose her Billy and their child over dreams of lost youth. But Calvin didn't agree right away. After a pause, he said, "Lillian, Billy passed away a few days ago. His flight crashed." I bolted up. Lillian's hand shook slightly, her face turning pale. Everything she ignored rushed back. Unanswered messages. The news repeatedly doing rounds. One thing after another. If she'd paid more attention, she wouldn't have found out so late. Calvin's voice came from the other end, careful and soft. "Lillian, since when did you know?" She croaked. "Not long after," he paused, adding, "the day you said not to tell you anything more about Billy." I nodded. True, I could vouch for Calvin. Lillian always had her way, decisive and uncompromising. Once she decided, everyone followed. To Calvin, I wasn't worth mentioning to Lillian. She wouldn't think of me again, much less ask my whereabouts. Why would he go against the wishes of Lillian's future husband? Lillian stood still, a dark aura surrounding her. Even next to her, I felt something was terribly wrong. Then she kicked the coffee table hard. My heart ached. I picked that table myself, expensive as hell. She seemed to remember something, unblocked the number Gary had blocked before, and called back. Her fingers trembled, lighting a cigarette from the pack on the table. "Billy, he's dead. Isn't he?" A moment of silence. Then, "Ma'am, my condolences." After the call, Lillian sat alone for a while before driving home. She walked in and went straight to Gary. "You knew, didn't you?" Gary, with a mask on, looked up from his movie. "Knew what? Why'd you take so long to get back?" "Andy's been asking where you went. Go check on him upstairs." Lillian's lips twisted as she made her way to Gary. Her eyes were cold. I've never seen her like this. Gary hasn't either. He took a step back, raising his voice a bit. "Seriously, why are you acting crazy? I'm not like your little stand-in. I've got a temper, too." Hearing this, Lillian suddenly started to laugh, though she didn't seem to know why. As she laughed, tears started to fall. I remember she said he had a terrible temper. That day I slapped him. I thought he'd make a scene at our engagement party, but he didn't. It's always the favored ones who can act fearless. By then, I already knew what standing I had in her heart. How could I dare? Gary's face drained of color. "Billy, you found out about him?" "Yes." "What? Don't tell me you realized you actually loved him only because he's dead?" Lillian pressed her lips together. "Exactly. The wedding's off. I'm not marrying you." Gary jumped to his feet. "No way. You promised. To marry me, to treat Andy as your own son, to be good to us forever. You can't just go back on that." Lillian lowered her gaze, saying each word clearly. "If it weren't for you insisting on him staying for our engagement party, he wouldn't have died." Gary froze and then laughed. "You're blaming me? You're actually blaming me. If you hadn't held on to feelings for him, Would things have gotten to this point? You probably don't even notice, do you? You call out his name in your sleep. You always notice clothes he liked when we're shopping. You did fall for him. From my perspective, you're the hypocrite. You're the one who got him killed. Plus, when I said let him stay through the party, you were relieved. You wanted to see him more, didn't you? Lillian listened in silence, clenching her fists at her sides. I stood by, kinda shocked. What is all this? Started to rain outside, thunder rumbling. Inside, the two faced off. From upstairs came Andy's cries. Dad, Mom. Lillian looked up, her eyes bloodshot, then pointed to the door. Get out. Leave now. Gary and his son left that night. Watching this drama unfold, honestly, I didn't feel all that satisfied. It seemed absurd. I kind of wished the person in Lillian's heart had always been Gary. Otherwise, it makes my death seem pretty darn laughable. Love that comes too late isn't worth having. After the villa fell silent, Lillian slumped on the sofa, her gaze empty. After a while, I heard her start to sob quietly. To be honest, I'd never seen her cry before. A long time passed, and I was nearly nodding off. Then suddenly, Lillian got up like she was possessed and ran outside. She started rummaging through the trash. The rain soaked her, and soon she was a mess. Good thing I'm just a ghost and can't feel any of that. She murmured, Where is it? I was wrong. I shouldn't have thrown it away back then. Oh, she was looking for the package I sent her. She searched the whole night, didn't find a thing. She sat at the door, looking out of it. Luckily, this area was full of villas, and no one was around to see her. William, who wasn't there the night before, was startled when he came by the next day. Ma'am, what's... Lillian finally looked a bit more like herself. The stuff he sent, you threw it out, and now I can't find it. William paused, his expression changing. Actually, I didn't throw it. Lillian's eyes lit up. Where is it? William headed to his room, with Lillian following closely behind. William sighed. Billy was a good kid, didn't have a bad bone in his body. Went far away by himself, who knows when he'd come back. Lillian stopped for a second, swallowing hard. He's not coming back. William didn't catch the meaning, assuming Lillian was determined to keep me out there forever. He shook his head. Such a shame, he was always asking me what you like to eat, so he could make it for you. He even said he didn't really like having short hair, but you liked it, so he did. He once asked me if he looked like Gary, equally handsome. The kid was all smiles. I couldn't tell him the truth. I said he was even a bit more handsome than Gary. He got pretty happy about it. Lillian turned her head to the side, her hand shaking uncontrollably. Almost brought back the tears. In the end, the box found its way to Lillian. She treated it like a treasure, taking it back to her room. Brushing off the dirt, she carefully cleaned it. Then she took a long bath, changing into clean clothes. Might have been the longest shower she ever took. Seeing all this, I felt really bored. Once you're dead, everything's meaningless. When she opened the box, her expression slowly stiffened. Inside was an invitation to their engagement party. On the back I'd written, "The candy was nasty. I didn't push anyone. Go to hell." Well, I ended up dead in the end. Guess that's karma for you. Also in the box were the rings we made together back then. Hers had been lost long ago, whether by accident or not. She rarely wore it. I found it in the bushes near my apartment building. Now, along with mine, it was back to her. After all, she paid for it back then, so it was returning to its rightful owner. Lillian stared at it for a while before taking off the ring from Gary and putting on the one in the box. After that, she was down for a long time. When news got out about her breaking off the engagement, Gary got hit with scandals of being a diva and bullying newcomers. His reputation tanked fast. This time, Lillian didn't step in to fix it. In fact, she said, add fuel to the fire. Women can be scary. As the days went by, she still didn't think to arrange a funeral for me. An underworld staff member even came to rush me. Maybe I'll talk to someone higher up, let you tell her something. But that night, because she'd been awake for days, Lillian got into a car crash. On the day she was almost conscious, the sun was shining bright. I stood by the window and suddenly spoke. Lillian. Her lashes trembled. She seemed to want to open her eyes, but couldn't. I said, I don't have family or friends. Since we knew each other, could you give me a funeral? Make it a good one. Let's not meet in the next life. After that, the hospital room went silent for a long time. Finally, a low voice. Okay.